Rick, thanks for joining us. I want to talk about the interview yesterday, if you want to call it that, the pre-taped, edited interview that Harris had to do with her vice presidential nominee sitting next to her. And, some bizarre answers, but there were some on Walz, too, that I want to get to. And it's we talked about that stolen valor issue. Bash did ask about that, these comments he made about carrying weapons of war. Let's play it for everybody, because I know a lot of our audience did not spend the time to go through this entire interview, understandably. But I want to play it for everybody first, Rick, so they know what we're talking about, and then get your comment.
The idea that you said that you were in war.
Yeah.
Did you misspeak, as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's service in any way. I never have, and I never will.
All right. I mean, that's not how I took it, that it had anything to do with school shootings, Rick. I thought it had to do with his service. In fact, I was one of those people that said, you know what, it's 24 years of service. Maybe we shouldn't be attacking him on that, until we realized he was not giving us the full story about his 24 years of service. And when you start claiming military service that you didn't do, even while you wore the uniform, other members of the military don't look kindly on that.
Look, it was after a school shooting. He is trying to say that he understands what these weapons are like. He told a story that was a lie. He said, I've carried these weapons, and so I know that they need to be banned, or I know that they're bad. He was equating a school shooting to the solutions in his mind that needed to happen in order to combat a school shooting. Except the example that he gave was a total made-up lie. He's never carried these weapons. And so it's not about anything other than his credibility and his line. Now, he did a good job of spinning, saying, oh, you mocked my son at the convention, and you caught me talking about two different dogs, and I'm calling them the same name. He still hasn't answered that question. They're trying to spin their way out. But this is what they do with the help of the media, and then with the help of people like CNN. I just got to say that Dana Bash asked some good questions, but failed to follow up. And I think that we can call her out for not being interested enough to play gotcha, to push back. And it's something that if you just look at what Dana does, say, with J.D. Vance, it's a stark difference. I would challenge anyone who's interested in media credibility to watch the interview that she does with Republicans versus Democrats. And you will see then that Dana Bash is clearly rooting for the Democrats.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's surprised by that. I think that, again, in the debate, they were surprisingly pushy, but that was different than this interview, which they were begging to get so they would have the first interview, if you even want to call it that, Rick. Do you think she'll ever do a press conference, by the way? I mean, I know that we're guessing here and she might get pushed into having to do one, but it does seem like her strategy is do as little, unstructured media, stay on the teleprompter, stay with Walz right next to her, and just kind of throw out, even when you're going to change your policy, say, it's not a policy change. I might change my policies, but the values don't. I just, we can do the same things. We don't have to stop fracking anymore. When you start seeing your poll numbers drop in Pennsylvania, which is something we've seen happen in just the last few days.
Yeah, we should say one thing that's a fact is that the Democrats have to win Pennsylvania in order to win the White House. If they lose Pennsylvania, they don't have a path. And so if you're listening to us in Pennsylvania, you are ground zero. They can they can lose or win Michigan and still win the presidency if they concentrate on Pennsylvania and then add a couple of others. They cannot win the presidency if they don't win Pennsylvania. That's just a fact because of what the map looks like right now. And so all hands on deck in Pennsylvania. And I think, Jordan, it's one of the reasons why she has really drawn back her language on the kind of pro-Arab American, pro-Palestinian talk. She is running from that because they've calculated she can lose Michigan and the Detroit suburbs, and they're very unhappy with her. And I think what it looks like to me is that the Harris team is giving up on Michigan.
I was going to say
all in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I was going to jump in there, Rick, because she picks a very liberal running mate. But then on those issues where they thought that she was going to try to utilize him, like he loved Ilhan Omar, it makes her smile thinking about that. And Ilhan Omar was so excited about it, so was AOC. And yet now, she wants everybody to believe she's the strongest supporter of Israel. She's not going to talk about embargoes. She's not going to work with those groups that are both in Michigan or even in Minnesota and Wisconsin and these uncommitted groups. And is instead playing, as you said, right to Pennsylvania. It's an interesting shift to make after choosing someone like Walz.
Well, don't forget the fracking point. Not only has she backed away from talking about the Palestinians or the suffering, and she's trying to be totally pro-Israel right now, she's also saying, I've always been changed. I always change my mind about fracking. It's been 4 years, catch up is what she's been saying, but it's not true. Even CNN fact checked her to say, this is not true. And it's completely out of the blue, but they are realizing that they cannot win without Pennsylvania. And so they have a Pennsylvania strategy. They've given up on Michigan, it looks like.
Hey, Rick, I did want to give you a moment to really talk about, this is the final day on air for our Life and Liberty Drive. This is an important moment here at the ACLJ. We talked about last time you were on, but you've seen firsthand, whether inside the ACLJ, where you are now, working with us on a weekly, daily basis almost, but also you've seen the work when you have been in the government to see what the work can be done. We are wrapping up this essentially matching donation moment here where donations are doubled. We're trying to have a big day here. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to really tell people about the work of the ACLJ. Not again, you've seen it from both sides here, and it's very important.
Look, I come from California, and we had an amazing governor, Ronald Reagan, who became president of the United States. And Reagan warned us that every single generation has to fight for their freedom. And I think that we are living in a time where you can't watch this amazing program and hear great content from ACLJ and then turn it off and think, gosh, I hope they do something. I hope somebody else does something. You have to ask yourself, what are you doing every day to save America? Every single day when you wake up, you have to ask yourself, what am I doing? Somebody has to run for office that's listening to us right now. Somebody has to have a bigger voice. And some people have to write bigger checks. And that's just the reality of doing content like this. We need our partners. We need the support. And the reality is that ACLJ is very good at action, not just talking. We have offices around the world. We're filing court cases. We take action. It's one of the reasons why I joined ACLJ, is simply because it's not just talk, it's actually action. So I hope people will realize it's crucial that they join with us and that they play a role. And they not only take our content and share it, but they talk about it with their friends and family. They challenge other people to listen, and they write as big a check as they can.
Rick, I appreciate you doing that for us, and I appreciate you being a member of our team at the ACLJ. And the reason you're able to be a member of our team, we were able to go to Rick and say, Rick, you want to join us and be part of the ACLJ team? That was because of supporters of the ACLJ.